4, the last we left. Pranayesha, Prano Heshaya, Sarva Bhutair Vibhati Vijanan Vidwan Bhavatena Ativadi. Atma Krida, Atmaritik Kriyavan, Esha Brahma Vidam Varishtaha. Brahma Varishtaha. The foremost of the knowers of Brahman. Who are the foremost of the knowers of Brahman? Kriyavan, a spiritually dynamic person, a spiritually active person, is said to be Brahmavidam Varishtaha. It is not having a preferential guru one over the other, but what the concept of, we did explain, but just re-clarifying, a spiritual guru, an active guru, in the sense an active person here refers to a person who leads an extremely sattvic action. What a rajasic person understands action as action which is full of frustration and agitation and disappointment. Because every time an action is performed, it is always performed with a desire. An action is performed with an expectation. Action is performed with an anxiety. So when the anxiety, when the fruit or expectation is not met, it always leads you into disappointment and stress and agitation and grief. But when an action is not driven on a desire or an anxiety or an expectation, we said last week, a desire or an anxiety or an expectation is checkmated when you have a higher goal or a higher purpose. When you envision a larger cause beyond your pursuit of your own selfish desires, when you envision, a goal and act towards that goal, such actions are sattvic. So amongst the sattvic people, here we are talking of a spiritual dynamite, means a person who is an embodiment of sattva. I'm just quickly brushing through because we already made these points. A spiritual dynamite, an embodiment of sattva, means every action of his only resonates the goal, and a realized person, his every action resonates of the goal of self in everything that he does. Kriyavan, an active person. So sattvic action has two essential aspects. Reddigari, you are lost.
Pranam Guruji, no, very much.
Okay, so for a moment I thought you're lost, right?
No, right. Okay.
So the two essential ingredients of sattvic action is it must be, in fact, not sattvic action or the state of sattva. Two essential ingredients of being sattvic is you must be active, you must be peaceful. The essential aspect of sattva. So you know the difference, how we describe the three. How do we describe sattva, rajas, tamas? tamas is inaction and peace. Rajas is described as action. I would qualify it as a frenzied action producing agitation. And sattva is we talk of action. It is an inspired action which produces peace. This is the three states of tamas, rajas, and sattva. So keeping this tamas, rajas, and sattva, you got to personify what would be a spiritual dynamite, a person who is spiritually active, a realized soul being active. This is where we got to relate to the mantra. Kriyavan is a varishtha. So one who is a spiritually active person is foremost among spiritually realized people. Yes, Amitama?
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes.
From the breakdown just now, sir, the quality of peace between tamas and sattva, will there be a difference?
World of difference. Not, I
Mm,
think. I am certain.
right.
There's no thinking about it. There's only certainty. Is like the bliss arising out of spiritual maturity vis-a-vis the bliss arising out of ignorance.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
We say ignorance is bliss. When we say ignorance is bliss, that also is a state of bliss.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Ignorance gives you some kind of comfort. So to remain in inaction, in sloth, in ignorance, it gives you some peace and comfort. That is not is like
that is not the peace we are talking about. Yeah.
That is not the peace. It's like it's very much possible that I could be a carrier of or I could be a victim of cancer. Okay. Now, so therefore Gayatri Ma is saying, Guruji, don't talk and we will not listen to you. Is that what you're saying? Yenna?
No,
what?
everyone,
I don't know what.
No, everyone should buy the book and read it, Guruji.
I don't know. Who told you to do marketing? I don't know. Reddy Garu, she's doing marketing in the spiritual classroom. What is this going on? Now, okay, we are doing Raghu Garu. Have you got the book? Talking of book, I also will do a little bit.
Yes, Guruji, I got the Parthasarthi book.
No.
Here,
No, Swami Parthasarthi's book you should have. That I recommend it to you. But you're not following which Gayatri Ma is saying. His disciple also wrote one book.
oh, okay.
That is what she's talking about.
Yeah, but behind my shelf is empty actually. I'm trying to get some more books. So if somebody can put it in the chat, I can buy some.
No, it's available. Gayatri Ma, help him connect with Anand and it will reach to you. She will help you coordinate that, sir.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Right.
Very much, thank you.
So, Amitama, I'm trying to explain ignorance is bliss. Imagine the state where if I am diseased with cancer and I'm ignorant of the disease, I don't know that I am diseased. What would be the state of me? I am in bliss. I feel I'm everything fine with me. It's very much possible. Believe me, for a moment, if I think of myself, it's very much possible I could have that disease in me. There's nothing to reject that possibility because it's a silent killer, as you know, until it crops up much later in an advanced stage and it says, oh my God, I have a few days left. So I could have that in me. So until knowledge dawns on me, what is the state I am in? I'm in peace, so-called peace, because I feel I'm healthy, I'm fine. But the moment the cognition of the disease comes in, the moment the knowledge of the disease comes in, what happens to my peace and state of comfort I was in? Instantly comes insecurity, restlessness, sort of all that peace is gone for a toss. That's what I mean, ignorance is bliss. Right. So a spiritual dynamite, varishtaha, one who performs action for a higher goal, attains peace. In the second chapter of the Gita, he describes yoga, chapter 2, verses 48 and 50. I'm writing it down so that you can capture it. So the two verses, he describes yoga as, I'm writing in English so everybody can follow. Samatvam uchyate, which means peace of mind is yoga. And then the other one, he says, yoga karmasu kaushalam, dexterity of action is yoga. Chapter 2, verses 48 and 50. Bhagavad Gita. Now, what you get there is exactly what we are telling. That sattva necessarily should have dynamic action, which is dexterity of action. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. And then the second is samatvam yoga uchyate, which is peace of mind is yoga. So essentially a sattvic state is where you have action and you have peace in both in one breath. He doesn't mention all that. Here in the Upanishad, he only says kriyavan. He only says a spiritual dynamic person. Now, we have to understand what that means. And here is the reference in the Gita, chapter 2, where there is a mention of what is a perfect state of action, a perfect state of sattva. So this way you're able to visualize or conceive what they are talking. So I said, amongst all spiritual realized souls, all realized souls attain the same state of perfection. But what's the use if that knowledge, if that wisdom is not passed on, if that is not given to uplift society? So a person who goes in For example, even if you think of the great Adi Shankaracharya, at the age of 32, he passed away, right? At that young age, he passed away. And in that short lifespan, what amount of dynamic karma he did. He traveled the length and breadth of country 14 times on foot and bullock cart. Can you imagine traveling on foot and bullock cart the length and breadth of country? He was a profound jnani. He wrote touching verses with bhakti, pregnant with bhakti. He wrote the various prakriyas. So many texts, introductory texts, like Bhajagovindam is one such text. I still have people coming and tell me, Guruji, if one text I can relate to is Bhajagovindam. They openly come and tell me. I'm not able to relate to Gita or Upanishads or everything that you teach, but I could relate to Bhajagovindam so well. I don't see anything beyond Bhajagovindam. It's not because of anything in me. It's because of that profundity, what Adi Shankaracharya wrote. Imagine he did not, and he went traveling length and breadth, establishing the Dvaita school of thought. Varishta, he's the foremost. Because we are benefited by their selfless work, such people are foremost amongst the spiritual gurus who don't put in that effort. That is all because of their nature. It's not because they choose to or not choose to. It's because of their own personality or nature. Some choose to remain quiet. Some choose to remain partially active. Some are dynamically active. It is nothing to do with them. It is to do with their prarabdha vasanas with which they're born with. They're born that way, so they live that life. But a man who does that dynamic action, he is a varishta. Now, that was second half of the verse. The first half of the verse, he says, Prano yeshaya sarva bhutair vibhati vijanan vidvan bhavate nati vadi. Share the mantra once again, please, ma. There you go. Let's chant once again. Prano heshaya sarva bhutair vibhati vijanan vidvan bhavate nati vadi atma krida atmarati kriyavan yeshava yesha brahma vidam varishtaha. Kriyavan, that part we have explained. Prano, he eshaha. This is prana. He who is the prana, the life principle, variously sarva bhutair vibhati. Vibhati means shines. Prana, life principle, it shines sarva bhutai, in all beings. So the prana here in the context refers to Om, which represents the self. So he who is the prana, the life principle, prana here not to be interpreted as breath, but here to be represented, to be interpreted as the self. Obviously, this mantra is talking of a realized soul. So he who is the self that shines in all beings. Like if I were to say, I am the self in all beings. In fact, when Swami Ramatirtha, when you listen or read his books, he started off, most of his lectures were recorded in US, in Japan. Those years he traveled. And he started out his lectures by saying, my own self in the form of ladies and gentlemen. That was his prayer. No sahana bhavatu. Is to say myself in the form, in all of you, of my brothers and sisters. And he's talking to an alien in an alien land, to people who did not know him. He did not know them, but he only said, my own self in the form of you all. So that was his prayer. And he started his lecture. So every talk you see, he says that spirit is conveyed in various words. So he could see the self himself in all beings. But that doesn't mean you must go and be close to a fellow who is backstabbing you. A fellow has no feeling for you. Leave him in his own hatred. That fellow doesn't love you. Somebody has no feeling for you. Why should you go and scratch yourself? Leave him in his own. Somebody hates you. Let him be in his hatred. Why have you to go and bother him? You have no, you see the self. Knowing this, the wise do not prattle. Vidwan bhavate na ativadi. Wise become, the wise do not prattle. Means one who, this is a trademark of a spiritually evolved or an evolving person. You do not ativadi. Ativadi means excessive blabbering, unnecessary talk. Spiritually evolved people talk very less. If at all they talk very less. I recognize a spiritual giant amidst us. I know you don't know, but I know. See, one person amongst everybody is laughing. No? You know who it is. The US, including just now, I get, yesterday I wrote a message to her. Whenever I message, anybody, I say Hari Om, so and so, divine blessings. That's the way I feel connecting with anybody, Without doing that message, I feel incomplete in my greeting. So I say Hari Om Ma, divine blessings with thee, and then I updated her with some things, and at the footnote I write Prema Nom. I always get 2-word reply from her. If at all, maximum 3rd word, but only 2-word answer reply. Even this morning, just before the class, I got a message. So much I wrote, apart from the message, Hari Om, divine blessings with thee and Prema Nom, she messages me, okay, noted. That's all. If at all she is gracious enough, she'll say TQ, okay, noted, TQ. That's all. And every time I receive that, I say, what did I say? My Lord? What did I say, my Lord? Yes, madam, what did I say?
I don't know.
What don't know? Huh? I said to her, I am always delighted to see your short and cryptic reply. And she said, I'm only practicing what you taught me, not to speak. So I said, I am so awed by your sincerity to learn. You are such a sincere student of mine, I tell her. Arunama, only 3 words. Okay, noted, TQ. Once in a while, TQ comes. What to do? So, na ativadi, no unnecessary talk. Now, why would you choose to not talk? Or you talk very less? Why would that be? See, as you evolve into a higher state, as you start growing higher from a certain standpoint, from that view, You view every other talk as children prattling. It is meaningless, useless talk. I can think of so many people, they come and talk unnecessary talk. Unnecessarily, they come and excite you and go. And people fall for that excitement. And you look at that excitement and I just keep quiet. I become just quiet to all that nonsense, unnecessary talk. Na ativadi. This way you know whether you are spiritually evolved or not. This is a trademark of spiritually evolved people. UK, if there is silence in the house, understand the spiritual grandeur amongst you are living with. You must start recognizing. You don't have the eyes to see.
I have the ears to see, Guruji. Ears to realize.
Ears to see. Yeah, correct. Please, can you realize it?
Yes, Guruji, long back.
And the wisdom on it, yeah.
Of course.
No, we are only assuring the wisdom that you had from Upanishadic standpoint. Also, we are assuring you.
Yes, now it's sort of reinforced.
Reinforced. Now it is the reality. Na ativadi. Atma krida atmarati. So that's spiritually dynamite, kriyavan, that spiritual dynamite. What is his state? Atma krida atmarati. So there are two words he uses. Atma krida means sporting in the self. Atma ratihi means delighting in the self. So these two choiceful words, they use two words to describe the state of a spiritual person, a spiritual dynamite. What is that state? Atma rati. Sporting in the self. Atma krida. Krida means an object. Ratihi means without an object. So Atma krida means sporting with the object, means they are able to enjoy the company with the world. When you are in company with them, they are full of joy. They are full of Arunama. When your family and everybody is around you, when you love people around you, you feel very happy, isn't it? In company with the object. Object here refers to you and people.
Guruji. Very true, Guruji.
When there is company, when there is crowd, when there are people, when things are happening, there is joy, isn't it?
Yes,
When
Guruji.
nobody is there around, when you're left to yourself, what happens to the joy? It diminishes a little bit, isn't it?
No, Guruji.
No diminishing. Huh?
Mm.
What happens to the joy?
I enjoy my own solitude, that peace within.
Another trademark of finding how wise you are. Ratihi means you revel without the world. Krida means you revel with the world. So a wise person enjoys the state of being in bliss in company or without company, with the object or without object. Now the question is, how is that possible? The wise enjoy with or without the world. There are enough resources to meet his ends, he's happy. There are no resources to meet his ends. Paltry resources he's got. He's still contented without the world. There are people today to support him and entertain him or give him company. Tomorrow, nobody is there with him. He still finds the same joy. How is it possible, Arunama?
Because I think it's because his needs are not dependent on the external world. He is full, like we say, he's paripurna, he's self-sufficient within. So he always goes inward and finds that peace which comes, that which is permanent. Like I mean, when you go to the outside world, the happiness, the joy that you get is always temporary. It just transient. Whereas when the more we go inward, that's what I find, we feel that we become calmer, self-sufficient, and there's some kind of peace. I mean, that's what I have experienced after taking this journey with you so many years, Guruji.
Indeed, absolutely. Because so that state of being in the world or away from the world, be in company or be in solitude, as in Bhajagovindam he says, remember the verse?
And get it. Yoga
No
Rato.
problem. Correct. Mm,
I can't get
perfect.
that, but I know that.
No,
Yeah.
yes, perfect. Wonderful. Correct, ma. Thank you. Mm. So the famous mantra which Arunama rightly quoted, Yogarato va, bhogarato va, sangharato va, sanghavihinaha, yasya brahmani ramate chetam, nandati nandatyeva. Do we have that verse, ma? Let's chant once again. After she puts it, we'll chant. Yasya Brahmani Ramate. The word Ramate is there in Bhajagovindam. Here also Atma Ratihi. So Ramate and Ratihi both suggesting the same, that one who is reveling in the self, reveling within oneself, without the world. Ramate Ratihi. There is a closeness, there's a connection there. So the verse says, Yogaratova, Bhogaratova, whether you are in spiritual practice or bhoga, or you are apparently seen indulging, traveling and enjoying the world. So the title given to this verse is Source of Happiness. So sing along, chant along. Yogarato va, bhogarato va, sangharato va, sanghavihinaha, yasya brahmani ramate chetam, nandati nandatyeva. So one may revel in yoga, which is spiritual discipline, or bhoga, sense enjoyment. Revel in company or without company. This is the context I referred to. You may be in company, which is Atma Kridaha in the Upanishad. Without company, Atma Ratihi. You're delighting by yourself. He whose mind rests in Brahman, he is happy, indeed happy. Which is what Arunama said. Once you leave it for another few seconds, please, just for those who are writing it down. So one who revels in the self, yasya brahmani ramate chittam. So one whose mind rests in Brahman, for him it doesn't matter company or no company. Whether you reciprocate to me or you neglect me, whether you give me love or hatred, whether you give me wealth or no wealth, whether you give me fame or you give me defame, you unfame me. Doesn't matter. Nothing in the world, nothing affects that person because he is reveling in himself. He doesn't need you. And literally, you experience it. I'm so happy to say I have reached a certain state where it really doesn't matter to me. Over the years, when you do sadhana, as Arunama said, with the journey of studying, she has really discovered or experienced that space where the world really doesn't matter. If the world is there, you're happy. The world is not there, you're also happy. Not that you're more happy. No, it's not that. You're happy with it or happy without it. It doesn't matter. You come to a point where you are, what quality you practice, the quality of practice you do is self-sufficiency. You are self-sufficient. We tell the example. You remember the story of the bird, Reddy-garu? Not the bird of the Mundaka Upanishad. Huh? Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya. Not of that, not this bird.
No, Guruji. No.
Huh?
I could not.
There also tree is there, but only one bird is there.
Okay.
Vasantama, she's smiling. That means she knows the story. Anybody who smiles means they know the story. And Vasantama,
No, Guruji, I don't know the story.
no idea.
I know only should be content with what self-sufficiency.
See, being contented with what you have is different to being self-sufficient. Contentment, okay, what is the opposite of, what is the difference between contentment and self-sufficiency? We mistake often. So what we are saying is, contented vis-a-vis self-sufficiency. Yes, Vasantama, can you differentiate between the two? What is the opposite of contented?
Craving.
Discontented or craving, isn't it? Wanting of more, right?
Yes.
The opposite of self-sufficiency is
With or without it, you're
no, that is self-sufficient. Self-sufficient means with or without it. What is the opposite of it?
opposite.
Like the opposite of being contented is you crave, you want, the greed.
With it also, you're not happy.
Either.
Whatever you have, yoga or bhoga, you're not happy.
That is being craving, no? See, even I may be in the spiritual field, but I'm not, I'm craving for more, better spiritual wealth. You have got karma phala of, you have done some tapas, you have got karma phala. Be happy with the tapas you have done and the fruit you have, no? If I'm 30% spiritually developed, I must be contented with 30% spiritual development. I may aspire to be a realized soul, but be content with where I am. That is the first one. But I'm asking the opposite of self-sufficiency. Why I went to this is because you said contented. That's why I said there's a difference in the words. Okay. Anybody else? Ramji, your idea? Any idea what's the opposite of and that's why the story of the bird comes in. Huh? I have not forgotten the story of the bird.
I can only guess, Guruji. I'm not sure. But self-sufficiency, opposite should be self-insufficiency. That means you are not, you are dependent on something else for your happiness.
You're right. You're right. You've actually rightly said, which Raghuji also rightly saying, opposite of self-sufficiency is being dependent It is dependence. Now, this dependence, what quality is it? When you say dependence, what is it? What quality is it, sir?
It is a weakness.
No, indeed a weakness, but I'm saying dependence at what level? It is obviously, we're not talking about physical dependence.
No,
It is a
at the mental level. Yeah.
So the dependence, the opposite of that is self-sufficient, means you may be able to eke a certain joy of happiness in company, but when the company is not there, you are not dependent. Your happiness doesn't diminish.
Yeah.
Isn't it, sir?
Yes, sir.
Right, sir. Thank you. So the you know the story of the bird?
No, sir, I don't remember.
You know, there is this, it was a very windy day, heavy rain and heavy winds. And the branches were swinging. And a bird that came and got itself perched on a branch. And because of the rain and water, a fellow, to save himself, he climbs onto the tree. And actually he's holding onto the branch which is swinging. So now there are two people on the branch. One is the bird, other is this fellow. One is precariously holding on to the branch for his life, because if the branch breaks, he will fall into the torrential water flow, he will be swept away. And in that state, the bird also is seated on the same branch. The branch is swinging, the bird is singing. What is the difference between the bird and that man?
The bird has
Branch,
wings. Yeah.
it has got the wings of self-sufficiency, isn't it? The branch breaks, the bird will fly. It is not dependent. Though it is perched on the branch, it is not dependent on the branch. This is the state of a man of realization. Atmarati, Atma Krida. Just because they are in the world doesn't mean they are enjoying the world or reveling in the world. They are just being in company. You take that world away from them, it doesn't make a difference. It's like the bird that has the wings of self-sufficiency. The branch breaks, it has that wings, it flies by itself. That doesn't end the life of a bird. A beautiful example to convey the concept of self-sufficiency or lack of dependence. So the more you develop, the less dependent you become on the world. Now, how do you know whether you're dependent on anything? Let me ask Raghuji. Raghu garu, Chepandi. I hope you follow the concept of self-sufficiency and dependence. Now, how do you know whether you are actually dependent on something?
Yeah, unless
Don't tell me, let the branch break, then we'll see.
in certain situations in life, it will reveal real nature of whether the person is clinging to that, or when everything goes well, we can't say whether we are attached or
Correct.
we are really clinging on to something. But when situations come, that when we can see the real nature of that person, whether he is by heart is following or not.
Correct. But do you wait until moments like that when the world puts you to test? Is it not too late by then?
But without the situation when everything is going very well, there may not be a chance for the person even to test their own self.
Sir, yesterday, and I'm doing training for one of the schools here. And yesterday they told me there is a fire drill going to happen and the session will start 15 minutes late, sir. So because all the students, 6,000 odd students in that school, I'm not teaching all of them, one section I'm teaching, section of that 6,000. So the 6,000 students will have to be evacuated from the classroom because there's a fire drill happening. What does it mean? In case there is a fire, these 6,000 students will be well equipped to be evacuated without any incident. So the question is, what is the fire drill you do in your life to know whether you are dependent or self-sufficient? That's the question, sir. Don't tell me, sir, if everything is fine, there is no way of finding out. When you wait until the fire happens and I get gutted by the fire, it's too late. You test, everything in life is tested. You know, sir, yesterday I was watching a brief documentary. You know, in this fighter pilots, fighter jets, they have this ejection system. You know, the fighter pilots, in the last moment when they know they can't salvage the aircraft and it's going to crash, they have this ejection system. Their seat ejects off from the aircraft because, and they were saying how that system has evolved. They were saying initial days the pilot could unbuckle himself and jump out of the aircraft with they used to wear a parachute onto their back and sit. But as the technology has evolved, the aircraft space has become constrained for the pilot, and there is no room for them to even climb out and jump out of an aircraft. So they had to come up with technologies and ways and means how just of a push of a button, within seconds, there's a knee-jerk reaction you get, and the whole system with the seat where the pilot is seated in is just ejected, which has an inbuilt parachute and you think. Amount of testing has happened for it to be fitted into the latest fighter jets today. The car you sit and drive, one of the things people see is how many airbags it's got. You know, the kind of technology and testing and development has gone through for the airbag to provide you for its safety, because when in case there's a danger, you're well protected. It has to go through all this verification and tests and approvals so that it serves you today. Everything in life, be it medicine, be it technology, be it science, it goes through that process of evolution and testing. How can you not apply that logical process to spirituality, sir? I'm explaining all this to tell you it should apply, it has to apply to spirituality as well, where you should be able to test and verify and confirm to yourself, yes, this is the right thing. I can't wait until things to happen and say, oops, the airbag came 5 seconds later. The result, the driver died. I've had that experience, sir. I did. Yeah. Did you ever experience an airbag, sir?
Never.
Not a pleasant question to answer. Not a pleasant question to answer, and I'm glad if you say no to it.
Yeah.
Has anybody experienced an airbag? Only see. Na Ativadi, UK. Raghugaru, don't mute yourself. I'm going to come back to you because.
I can say one experiment I did. I just recall by staying alone for almost a year. Kind of that is an isolation experiment I done on myself. I think very well I did it. So I think some experiments which are in my scope, I am doing it, but not any. Other than that, I didn't do much. Just wanted to stay alone for a year.
No, now this is what this is what it is. You're able to consciously withdraw or part with certain things in life just to tell you how attached or detached you are. You wanted to test your level of, I don't know what you wanted to put yourself to test, but it's not easy remaining in solitude, right?
Yeah.
But you did not wait until a situation in life came where you are left alone. You choose to withdraw from the world and see how your mind behaves. How do you know whether you're attached to wealth? Or how your degree of attachment to the world, degree of attachment to wealth. When it goes away, oh, it's too late. By the time, in case you have lost some portion of your wealth, then you are broken. But if I were to ask you to find out how attached are you to wealth, how do you know that? You try to put yourself in a situation where you have to part with it. Deprive yourself of that wealth or comforts and see how your mind behaves. That's how you know how attached, how dependent I am to it. So don't wait for things to happen. You can actually do a mock drill in your life. That mock drill is a test. Oh, what will be life if I have no job? Huh? Now I'm busy running with so many work I'm doing. Keep away from that. Gayatri, ma mock drill panungo. You know what will happen? Nothing will happen. Life will go on. Now, but nobody is indispensable. Oh, the company will not work without me. You think so? It may happen better without you. I'm not saying you. It doesn't need me. It's my own creation that the company needs me. I need company. Work cannot go. It's like I tie a rope around a mule and say the mule is dependent on me. The mule says, you let go of the rope. I am free to go and you are free to go. I am dependent on you because you are dependent on me. So who is dependent? Is the mule dependent or are you dependent? You have tied the rope around the mule and you're not letting go of the mule. You let go of the rope, the mule is free to go. So it's
Yeah, I would
everything.
like to add one point here.
Yes, you're good. Add
Company.
Hmm.
Here in America, I worked for a few companies. Thursday evening, they will say, Friday, you don't come to work.
Correct.
So Friday job done, I used to enjoy after Friday. At least I got some break from the companies because these 9-to-5 jobs are also some kind of slavery. People have no any emotions. Anybody dies in the family, you cannot go. And anybody working in 9-to-5, if they talk highly about it, I used to disagree and I still disagree because they cannot even take for 5 days, 10 days leave without somebody giving permission.
You are talking to a wrong person. You're talking to a jobless fellow. I've been jobless all my life. I can't understand you, sir. What are you talking? It is all Spanish and Latin to me. What
That's true.
I don't understand what Raghuji is saying. I'm a jobless fellow. You're talking about it. It's like you're talking about richness to a poverty. A fellow who is in poverty, what does he know to be in richness?
But the difference, Guruji, your lifetime engaged 24 hours. So
that is different thing. But when he says 9 to 5, I am a jobless fellow. I don't know what 9 to 5 slavery
Mr. Raghu is very considerate of saying 9 to 5.
Right, sir. Thank you, Raghu. But you're very right when you say that you have to withdraw from the world, separate yourself from the world consciously and test yourself. What is your degree of attachment? And Ramji, what is that experience of airbag?
We had an accident, sir. That was in 2015, December, near Belgaum. So our good friend was driving.
Yes,
Harish was driving, and we were coming from Goa. and the vehicle hit a truck, and another truck came and hit us from the backside. Our vehicle flew into the air, turned 180 degrees and fell down. But fortunately, it just landed like that. So there were 6 airbags which opened. And really, we were saved because of the airbags. And airbags, then only we realized that airbags work only if you have put the seat belt. Otherwise, they don't work. And so fortunately, except my wife, all others had the seat belts on. So very fortunately, she flew and then came and sat on my lap in the vehicle. From the back seat, she came to the front seat. But fortunate that we all got saved, Harish, Rajiv, me, and Usha. And but the benefit of the airbags we saw. So it's actually, I compliment Harish for creating an accident with minimum damage to anybody, but at the same time going through the experience of an accident. So I think that is what the mock drill you were talking about. Of course, the vehicle got destroyed, but we had a mock drill actually.
Yeah, you and I can laugh about it or
I know, but
look at it philosophically, but I know any that moment it really shocks you.
Yeah, it was really, so it was really numbing.
Absolutely.
It was numbing, yeah. But it is very
I'm not-
difficult to prepare, sir. It is very difficult to prepare. I think certain things, certain experiences in life, I don't know whether it is possible to prepare for them. But I think that's where actually the exercise, intensity of exercise you do. I think the 2 most important things which cause agitation are loss of money and loss of closed ones. And that's where I have seen people going off the, I think somebody dies. Then I have seen people taking years to recover. And some people don't even recover also. So it could be a close one, like a spouse or a child or a parent or whatever it is. So I think that is where, unless you do a mock drill, that what happens if so-and-so dies and how will I react? Or what happens if my money is gone? I think, like you said, one of the ways in which you can test is also how easily can you donate money? How easily can you give money to somebody? I think is also a test of how much attached you are to that money. And this I have realized more in the last 5-6 years that when I give a donation, do I feel anything? Do I feel that I'm parting with money? I mean, for example, whatever Setuji also does. So these are all things where these are all tests. I think these are the mock drills, which they're actual drills, but they are done in a way that gets you acclimatized to losing something, so that you don't get attached to it, right? So I think if you do these in small measures, at least, and you don't feel while doing it, because I think money and emotional attachments are the 2 biggest things which affect people. I mean, if you are in a stock market and you make money one day, you lose money one day, can you remain neutral to that loss and that gain? Is the biggest thing for a stock market operator. And similar thing. So stock market is nothing but life. So in life also, it is you gain and lose on a daily basis, many things. So can you remain neutral? You think that is where the exercise of mind and using of disciplining of mind and all that will. Sorry, I blabbered for too long, but I was just trying to say that can you remain unattached? Can you remain, can you part with something without that affecting your mind and your emotions?
No, I wouldn't take out anything from what you said, but one can. And where, as you said, you put things to practice, where one can start intensifying. You can start intensifying the same exercise. Because, sir, one is to put into the mock drill, but what any action or any experiment that you do backs with sound logic and reason. You put your study and experiment to test. You don't test without a scientific observation, isn't it? So this is the scientific observation. The scientific observation is the study of the Shastras, which is put into test in a laboratory. It's like a research you do, you put test into laboratory. The laboratory is the world. What is the law which says, Amitama, you know the law, isn't it? Attach, you lose, detach, you gain. This is the law of life. The more you attach to anything, you're bound to lose it. Extreme attachment, it is said, Swami Ramatirtha explains this law. Ramatirtha says, when you attach to, Ramji, you spoke about attachment to family. He says, if you attach to your son, in no other words, less than no words, he says, if you attach to your son will be drop dead. If you attach to your spouse, there will be separation. No, either I understand that the profundity of the law, that it is bound to work and start applying in my life. To what degree am I able to apply it in life depends on to what degree am I convinced with the law of the teachings and put it to test. But if I am not convinced of the teachings, how will I be able to experiment it? So I can still be attached to many things in different degrees because I am not convinced, I am not established in the teachings. So it all starts with the knowledge which can be verified in one's own experience through either one's own experience or through experimentation. You just verify it. Yes, this is right. This is right. This is right. So you need, if it applies to 10%, it will also apply to 40%. It will apply to 70%. It will apply 100%. And that's where we got to bridge the gap between knowing and living, isn't it, Ramji? That's where the sadhana starts there. It's not, sadhana is not with your 10%. You are comfortably doing 10% detachment, whether be it wealth, to family, name, work, recognition, everything what you have in your life, you may practice 10%, but the real growth is not in 10%. The real growth is at 15%. You shift, you push it to 20%. You intensify it. That is where growth is. Otherwise, there's saturation. So the highest truth which we learned in Bhajagovindam, the famous words, one of the famous verses, Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tattvajjivita matishaya chapalam vidhivyadhyabhi managrastam lokam shokam shoka hatam cha samastam. Lokam shokam cha samastam. He says, Nalini dalakata jalamati taralam. He says, water on a lotus leaf is extremely unsteady. So also is life very unstable. So what guarantee is there that there is certainty of life? Life is like a water of a drop on a lotus leaf. So if I understand this in its reality, when there is a loss of a near or dear, I will accept it. Would I not? It is my own imagination that my child will live longer than me. It's your unrealistic, unreal imagination. You have held on to it from your beginning. When the reality hits you, you are not prepared to face life. Why? You have not learned the fundamentals of life. What experiment to put it, sir? How can you put this to experiment? Understand it. That itself is experimentation. Knowing it is living it. If you have known it 10%, you don't have to apply and test it. Understood? Means you have to put to test, no doubt, but this knowledge is so profound. If it once we soak into its entirety, you're well prepared, well anchored. Nothing will rock the boat. That's what the concept is. Atmarati, Atma Krida. So this man, a man of wisdom, beautiful mantra, such a practical, such a relevant, so you can draw so much out of it. But they don't talk all this. They just talk at a very high pitch. We are bringing it down to draw it out. Prano Heshaya Sarvabhutair Vibhati Vijanan Vidwan Bhavate na Ativadi Atma Kreda Atmarati Kriyavan Hesha Brahma Vidam Varishtaha. Outstanding. Extraordinary mantra. Every word of the mantra was so deeply meaningful. Every word. You could have expanded each word into different facets. You can write a book on this one mantra. So deeply meaningful this is. We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.